The chandelier above the marble lobby floor sparkled like a crown made of glass, casting gold light over polished stone and perfectly arranged orchids. Every surface whispered wealth. Every corner smelled of imported perfume and money. Guests, in tailored suits and silk dresses, moved through the lobby of the Grand Dominion Hotel as if they owned the air itself. And then she walked in. She wore a navy blazer, slim black trousers, and heels that clicked with calm authority. Her hair was neatly pulled back. In her hand, a structured leather bag. No flashy logos. No dramatic entrance. Just quiet confidence. Amara Cole stepped into the center of the lobby and paused. She looked around, taking in the architecture, the layout, the reception flow, the guest traffic. She wasn't admiring it. She was evaluating it. At exactly 300 p.m., she took a seat on one of the cream velvet sofas near the fountain. She crossed her legs, opened her laptop, and began reviewing numbers, revenue projections, renovation costs, staffing structure. She had a meeting at 3:30 with the current owner of the hotel. She planned to buy the Grand Dominion by sunset. But across the lobby, someone else was watching her. The assistant manager, Thomas Whitmore, adjusted his tie as he studied her from behind the reception desk. His eyes narrowed slightly. She didn't look like their usual clientele. No diamond jewelry, no oversized sunglasses, no driver waiting outside. Just calm. He leaned toward the concierge. Did she check in? The concierge shook his head. No reservation under that name. Thomas watched as two wealthy guests approached the sofa area. They hesitated when they saw Amara seated there. One of them whispered something. They glanced at her laptop, then at each other. Thomas exhaled sharply. He walked around the desk and approached her with a professional smile stretched tightly across his face. "Good afternoon, ma'am," he said, voice polite but firm. "Are you a guest with us today?" Amara looked up slowly, her expression relaxed. "Not yet. I'm sorry, I have a meeting here at under 30. "With whom?" "Mr. Bernard Keller." Thomas blinked. Bernard Keller was the owner of the hotel, a billionaire real estate mogul, not someone who met random walk-ins in the lobby. "And what is this meeting regarding?" Thomas asked. She closed her laptop gently. "Business." Thomas forced a small laugh. "Of course. Mr. Keller conducts meetings in his private office. Were you instructed to wait here?" "Yes." "May I see confirmation of that?" She tilted her head slightly. "Is that standard procedure? We prioritize guest comfort here. Some guests have expressed concern." "Concern," she repeated evenly. Thomas glanced around. A couple nearby was clearly watching now. "Yes," he said quietly. "You've been here for some time without checking in." "It's been 11 minutes, she replied. The smile on his face faded. "Ma'am," he said more firmly, "if you're not a registered guest, we do require that lobby seating remain available for paying customers." Amara stared at him for a long moment. Then she asked, "Are those two men by the bar registered guests?" Thomas looked over. Two white businessmen laughed loudly over drinks. "Yes, they are. They've been there since 100 p.m. I saw one of them leave and return." Thomas's jaw tightened. "Meh." "And the woman at the corner table? She hasn't ordered anything in 20 minutes. That's different." "How?" The words sliced cleanly between them. Thomas felt heat creep into his neck. He lowered his voice. "I don't want to escalate this. If you're not staying here, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." There it was. Not a request, a dismissal. Amara slowly stood. The lobby grew quieter. "Are you asking me to leave because I'm not a guest?" she asked calmly. "Or because I don't look like one?" Thomas stiffened. "That's inappropriate." "So is this." A woman nearby pulled out her phone subtly. Thomas gestured toward the door. "Please." Amara held his gaze for 3 long seconds. Then she picked up her bag and began walking toward the exit. Security was already approaching. 2 uniformed guards positioned themselves near the doors as she reached them. "This won't be necessary," she said softly. "We're just ensuring compliance," one guard replied. The humiliation was quiet but heavy. Conversations had stopped. Eyes followed her. The door opened. Warm afternoon air rushed in. She stepped outside, and the doors closed behind her. Inside, Thomas adjusted his jacket and exhaled in relief. Problem solved. Except it wasn't. At 3:27 p.m., the lobby doors burst open again. But this time it wasn't Amara walking in. It was Bernard Keller himself. Tall, silver-haired, impeccably dressed. He moved quickly, scanning the lobby. "Where is she?" he demanded. Thomas rushed forward. "Mr. Keller, good afternoon. Where is Miss Cole?" Thomas froze. Miss Cole? Yes, Amara Cole. She was supposed to be waiting here. The blood drained from Thomas's face. There was a woman, he stammered, but she wasn't a guest. And what? Keller snapped. We asked her to leave. The entire lobby seemed to inhale at once. You're what? Security shifted uncomfortably. Keller's expression darkened. Do you have any idea who she is? Thomas swallowed. She claimed to have a meeting. She doesn't claim anything, Keller cut in. She owns half the commercial district downtown. She just purchased the Harrow Plaza last month. Murmurs rippled through the lobby. Thomas felt his knees weaken. She is finalizing the acquisition of this hotel today, Keller said, voice low and furious. She is about to become your employer. Silence crashed over the room. Where is she? Keller repeated. She just left, Thomas whispered. Keller turned sharply and stormed outside. Across the street, Amara stood calmly beside a black car, speaking quietly on her phone. Keller hurried toward her. Miss Cole, he called. She ended the call and turned. I owe you a profound apology, he said breathlessly. She studied him for a moment. Do you? Yes, that should never have happened. She glanced back at the hotel doors. Your staff made an assumption, she said evenly. I assure you. They assumed I didn't belong. Keller hesitated. She continued, and if I didn't have the portfolio, I do. If I were just someone waiting. He had no answer. She stepped closer. I wasn't offended, she said quietly. I was informed about your management. The words hit harder than any accusation. I was prepared to finalize at the agreed valuation, she continued. Now I'm reconsidering. Keller's eyes widened. Miss Cole, please. She looked at the building again. Your lobby is beautiful, she said softly, but culture matters more than marble. Inside, guests were pressing toward the windows watching. Thomas stood frozen near the entrance. Amara met Keller's gaze again. I will still buy the Grand Dominion, she said finally. Relief flickered across his face, but not at your price. His relief vanished. Discrimination, liability, reputational risk, restructuring costs, she continued smoothly. I estimate a 15% reduction is appropriate. Keller hesitated only a second. Then he nodded. Done. She extended her hand. He shook it. Across the street, Thomas watched the handshake that just rewrote his future. An hour later, the entire senior staff was gathered in the ballroom. Whispers filled the air. Amara entered through the side doors. No security escorting her out this time. No suspicious glances. Only stunned silence. She walked to the center of the room. Thomas couldn't meet her eyes. She let the silence stretch. I arrived today as a guest, she began calmly. I stand before you now as the new owner of the Grand Dominion Hotel. A few people gasped softly. She continued. Before any renovations, before any rebranding, before any announcements, we will address something more important. Her gaze moved through the room. Buyers, no one moved. This hotel will not only reflect luxury, it will reflect dignity. Thomas felt sweat gather at his temples. She stepped closer to him. He cleared his throat. I was protecting guest comfort. At the expense of mine. I made a judgment. Yes, she replied softly. You did. Silence. Then she said the words he feared most. You're relieved of your position, effective immediately. A collective breath escaped the room. Security stepped forward again. But this time they weren't escorting her. They were escorting him. As he walked past her, humiliated, she spoke quietly enough that only he could hear. Next time, she said, assumed dignity. He left without another word. Amara turned back to the staff. This is not about punishment, she said firmly. It's about standards. She walked slowly across the ballroom. I built my company from nothing. I have sat in rooms where I was the only woman, the only black executive, the only one questioned before I spoke. Her voice remained steady. I will not replicate that culture here. A young receptionist near the back wiped away tears. Amara noticed. Starting today, she said, we implement bias training, anonymous reporting channels, community partnerships, and a zero-tolerance policy. She paused. And we promote based on character. She looked at the concierge who had remained silent earlier. What is your name? Daniel, he said nervously. Daniel, she said, you'll be acting assistant manager while we restructure. His eyes widened. Thank you, ma'am. She gave a small nod. Then she addressed the room one final time. The Grand Dominion will remain 5 stars, she said, but not because of chandeliers. Her eyes lifted briefly toward the glittering ceiling in the lobby beyond the ballroom doors. It will be 5-star because every single person who walks through those doors will be treated as if they belong. She'll let that settle. Outside, evening light began to wash the building in gold. Hours later, as the first press release hit social media announcing the acquisition, the story spread fast. Not just that the hotel had new ownership, but why a guest had filmed the earlier confrontation. The video circulated online with a simple caption. They tried to remove the woman who just bought the hotel. By midnight, it had millions of views. By morning, the Grand Dominion wasn't just known for luxury, it was known for transformation. And the next day, when Amara walked back into the lobby, no one questioned whether she belonged. Because she didn't just belong there. She owned it.